Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast episode at Advanced Talks. I am really excited to introduce our guest today, Ms. Christina Smallwood. She is a 39-year-old adoptive mom of three. She has twin 5-year-old boy and a girl, and her oldest daughter, 10, has special needs, predominantly living in a wheelchair. I am constantly blown away by all this lady is juggling in her day to day. She also runs a very successful home based business. And you may even recognize her as Tamra Judge's hairstylist from Real Housewives of Orange County. And she uses her social media to grow a multi-million-dollar home-based business. So this sweet lady, y'all, she is Superwoman. She juggles a lot. And I'm really excited today to dive into the topic of habits. What are the essential habits that both her and I put into our business on a day to day that have created the success that we've been able to experience and the success for our teams? So before diving into all of that, I just wanted to welcome Christina. We really appreciate you being on this podcast.
Oh my gosh, this is like a full circle moment from finding you on Instagram and being so inspired to like getting to be, become friends and be colleagues. And I'm very excited to be on this podcast with you. And you guys, it is my life is a circus. Okay. And I hope throughout the rest of this podcast that you just feel like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it, because that's just like truly the messaging that I want to get across as we share all the tips.
And I feel like Christina and I are very similar. I feel like that's why we bonded even over our mastermind experience, because we are both mom of three kids. I even told her right before this podcast, you can probably hear it right now. I was like, I'm going to have kids screaming in the background. Like it just is what it is. But I agree with her. It's like, if we can do this and we can do this juggling a household of kids and all the different tasks and all the different hats that we wear, you truly can build that same type of business for yourself. So, thank you for being on here. I'm so excited. But before we jump into the tactical habits and into that type of thing, I want to talk about the importance of having vision and the importance of defining your why before you can even figure out the habits that you want to create in your business. Because I don't know about you, Christina, but I feel like if you don't have that defined, it doesn't matter what type of habits you try to put in place. If you're not inspired every day to get up and you don't have that why and that vision at the forefront, the habits just really aren't going to fall into place. So I would love to hear a little bit from you on why do you feel like the why and the vision is so important?
Well, this is how I put it. If you are going to go somewhere and someone's inviting you somewhere, you get in your car, do you just start driving? Like, no, I mean, if you're like me, you end up getting lost. If I don't have that map on, and put in my destination and then take the turn by turns as they come, I'll literally get distracted. I'll be on my phone. I'll drive in a circle. I'll go on autopilot. And before you know it, I'm at the school pickup line and I'm like, this was not where I was supposed to go. And so having that destination kind of dialed in the same you would if you're going for a drive, that's what's how your day is going to be. You're either going to be on autopilot or you're going to know what your mission is for the day. And so having that clear plan, like I'm a big planner, like, and I get that, life doesn't always go as we planned, but at least if I
Right.
know, okay, this is my mission for the day, this is my goal, my destination, I will complete it. Even like if I'm waiting till like the last minute, I at least know I'm going to get what's done for my day.
Yeah.
um but as far as like having the strong why, I mean, I am someone that when I started my entrepreneurial journey, my home based business, my why really was not extremely deep. And I know a lot of times people feel like I can't really find that inside. Like I can't find that deep why that makes me cry. I was so unaware of myself and my self development, but I just knew I wanted to prove other people wrong. And that
Mm.
was like my first motivator. And that I swear, spite fueled me in the very beginning for a short term because so many people doubted me on my journey. And so that I would say was like my first vision, but also led me to not meet the ultimate goal because I wasn't digging inside. So
Right.
I mean, I'm taking turns here. You can tell I'm already ADHD brain, but I want to speak super honestly and transparently and like as things come to me super organically. But ultimately getting deep into that why and then asking yourself, this was the exercise that took me so long to learn. Okay, but why? Okay, but why? And at the root of it was I was a 9-year-old little girl who felt very insecure and very unaccepted. And ultimately, that is my why, is to help other people feel welcomed and accepted, the same as I'd be basically treating the little girl inside me. And
Right.
so the shallow version of it was spite, and that's what I thought it was. So I learned of the self development on the journey as well. But super important to know what you want to accomplish each day. Otherwise, you kind of just feel overwhelmed and like you got that weight on your shoulders all day, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, then you feel like, oh, well, this is what's stressing me out. And it's really not. It's just your lack of having a plan.
Right, right. And I love that you shared that because everybody's why is so different. And you never, just like anything in this business, you don't want to compare, like, oh, my why is not as big as hers, or it doesn't look like this. My why actually started off very shallow as well. Honestly, I was like, oh, I want a good deal on these products. And it would be nice to make a couple extra $100. Why not? But then a lot of them know my journey. Like, I became a single mom. And then my why became very deep and very at the forefront of my mind every single day. I was like, I don't have a choice. Like, I either have to make this work if I want to be able to continue to stay home, or I have to go get a real job, quote unquote. And I've got to put my daughter in daycare. And that just to me, like, broke my heart because my dream was to be a stay home mom. So my why became big. And my why was not just something that was inspirational, it like turned into desperation. And so every day, like, I had to get up. Like, I, even if I didn't feel like it, like, my why was so big that it trumped any excuse that would come to the surface. And that's the thing, your why is going to evolve. But then I also challenge people to like go even deeper, like you said, with your why. Like, it's got to be a big enough thing because here's the thing, like, everybody will say they want success, right? Like, if you ask people, like, who here wants $1 million? Here, who here wants the next rank? Who here wants a comment their paycheck? Every single person is going to say yes. But what separates the people who actually just desire it for the people who actually go after it? It's the people who have defined their why, and it's so big and it's so at the forefront that no excuse trumps it. And they also realize the hard work it's going to take to get there. And they value that. They don't just value the result, they value the hard work. So I wanted to start with this because I know for me and for you, defining that why was so crucial because you can sit here and say, it's no different than going to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week, right? Or 6 days a week. And I'm going to create these habits and I'm going to do my daily water intake and I'm going to check off all these boxes. But if there's no why at the end of that, the first day you wake up and your alarm goes off and you're too tired, there's no reason to continue on with those habits. So, wanted to start there because it's so crucial to defining your why. And we're going to talk about this awesome 90-day cycle journal here in a little bit. And I love that the first two things in there are create a vision for yourself and define your whys. I do also want to jump next into forming habits of a positive mindset because we know that it's got to start there too.
So I did this accidentally. Okay. Like I was always a positive person. I was a cheerleader. Like I remember in high school, frequently people would be like, do you ever have a bad day? Like I was like just naturally a cheery person. And then when I entered my late 20s, I had a series of like what I call like my unfortunate events. I lost my dad tragically. I was diagnosed with infertility, and then my husband and I went straight into adoption. And then our daughter was born early, and she had a brain injury, which was the same way that my dad had died. So 6 months apart, I'm in the ICU with my dad, the NICU with my daughter. And it was just like a blur of grief, guilt, like I mean anything under the sun. Like it was just like I was in the ocean and the wave kept knocking me over. Okay. And so what got me through that was ultimately what taught me how to have a positive mindset in my business when it feels like that, like, oh, one obstacle, and then, oh, this person's not happy, or that person wants to return, or that person says no, or like whatever your objections are that you're facing in those waves. And this is the same advice that I give to someone that's starting their business, and the same advice I give to someone that's going through all the like deep doo doo that like life brings. You have to laser focus on the positive to get through every single day. And every single day, God will give you a gift. Like he really will give you a gift, but it's up to you to see it. And so having that ability to have that laser focus to find whatever it is, that becomes like the lifeline of each day. Instead of course, we could all say everything that's wrong with the world. You open your phone and the world slaps you in the face with all the hardships and like literally all the world's woes. And so it's up to us to empower our mind and kind of create I don't know, like a fortress of a great laser focus on the positive. And for me, some days it was like really obvious. Like I'd be in the Starbucks line and someone would pay for my Starbucks and I'd be like, oh my gosh, that was obvious. Like, thank you. Like that made my day. But other days, it's like you have to sift through all the crap and go, okay, what is it? And some days it's just, I woke up and I'm breathing today. And like that really is a huge gift. And so, what's going to get you through the hardest times in your life are going to be the same exact things that get you through the hardest days in your business. And so, that year taught me that every single day really is a gift, and having that laser focus is ultimately it. So I don't dwell on the bad things each day. I will learn from them and I will adapt, if it's something within my control. Otherwise, my focus when I'm putting my head on the pillow was reiterating those positives from every single day. And that's a habit that you can form no matter, what your mindset is right now.
Right. And it's a habit of pre-framing before you go into a situation, pre-framing your mindset. And then even once you're in that situation, framing it. And the best example, when I think of adversity, I actually think of Paul in the Bible, right? Like he went to Rome to preach the gospel and he ended up being in prison. He could have framed that situation, right? Like most of us would have. Like that's the worst case scenario, right? And been like, oh, woe is me. I'm giving up. Look at where this got me. I'm not going into ministry anymore. I'm not doing these things. But he took that situation and it was just the habit of framing it differently, right? So instead of going, "Oh, I'm in prison and this did not work out the way I thought it would," it says, "I am now locked up to a guard every 8 hours preaching the gospel." Like basically, who's the prisoner, really, right? Like I still get to advance the gospel even when I'm here. And I always go back to that story because I'm just like, man, that is so powerful. And none of my situations even compare to that. And so when I face adversity in my business, it's all about pre-framing. It's never to go, everything is rainbows and unicorns, and you have to pretend that it is. It's just recognizing that there is an obstacle, but looking for the opportunity and the solution in it. And that is a habit. Like that is truly a habit. There is actually scientific evidence of what they call negativity bias, where the more we think negatively, it creates these neural pathways in the brain, and we're going to continuously think that way. And so if you're like, man, I'm not somebody who takes an obstacle and sees opportunity, it's okay. You can actually, that is a habit you can form. And my biggest piece of advice, one of the things you said, Christina, is just start looking for the good in things. And I call that pre-framing, right? Before you go into a situation, before you go into a Zoom call, instead of going, oh man, this is going to be a waste of my time, go, okay, this is going to be great. What is one thing I'm going to take away from this today? I'm going to look for the positive. And it's that continuous habit of pre-framing your situations, because it makes a world of difference. Because you're going to have adversity in your life, just like Christina mentioned, some of the things you went through. You're going to have adversity in your business. You're going to have miscommunication. But how can we look for the good? How can we give people the benefit of the doubt and think positively? So I just think that's such an important topic to touch on, because why vision, positive mindset? You got to start there. So let's dive into the fundamental habits that every successful network marketer, entrepreneur should adopt.
Okay, so some of my favorite things that I talk about are we can have tasks in our business that aren't like extremely time consuming. I think that's the number one thing we probably both hear is that I don't have a lot of time to do this business. I don't have a lot of time to start something new, to learn, to, yada, 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 fill in the blank. So, how I view it is when you put a action into momentum. It's kind of like if you're going to start dinner, and you are going to make spaghetti. Well, you don't pour the water in the pot and then put it on the stove and then watch it boil. Like, no, that's something that you start and you put on and then you can leave it for a minute, then you come back to it. And so some of the first things that I will do is I will get back to my DMs every single morning. And if I don't have DMs to get back to, then I am starting new conversations. So like, I mean, and this is going to be like not chronological order, but just this what's coming to my head first. I think getting back to people and communicating with people and starting conversations or initiating is very, very, very important to a social business. And I think a lot of people just wake up and they think, what am I going to post today? Not who am I going to connect with today? So that mindset right there is the first like pot of water that I'm putting on. And I'm not going to sit and watch it boil. I'm just going to throw it out there. Then I'm going to go on to my next thing. But starting that way gets me off on the right foot because it might create a little bit more activity throughout my morning, throughout my afternoon as people get back to me. And so then I feel like I'm doing something versus just outputting only and posting my content. The platform really loves engagement and interaction between people. So if you have a one-sided business where you're only worried about what you're doing on the output and not worried about kind of what you're giving and who you're connecting with, that's like first and foremost. So that's like my first one is wake up and start the day and start with initiating conversation or getting back to conversation.
And I love that you said that one because it's actually one of my top 3 too, but starting with answering those messages that are already there to keep those conversations going. But if you don't have those messages there, I love that you said that. That is your networking time. And in order to keep true momentum going in a business, you have to have 100 conversations going at once. And this is not conversations necessarily about your product or your opportunity. These are just authentic conversations going. We are in, if you're in the network marketing industry, it's networking, it's connecting, it's relationships. So maybe what this looks like for you is the start of every month, whether you do this personally or with your team, having a set time where you're doing nothing but starting conversations with people and connecting with people. I think that is one of the I would definitely put it in my top 3 when it comes to having a successful business is creating those habits of starting those conversations. And you can make it systematic. Like I said, you could do this where it's every Monday you are with your team and y'all are creating these conversations.
I have a little tip that comes to my mind for that too. As far as like when people, I feel like the number one thing that follows up that topic is, well, how do I find people? Do I just reach out to anybody? Do I look at one hashtag? What do I do? So here's my best advice for that. Tangible. Look at the surrounding businesses in your area. And if Instagram's your platform, look there. If Facebook's your platform, whatever your platform is, look there. I'm an Instagram gal, so that's where I go. So I'll look at the coffee shop down the street or the local boutique or whatever. I'll look at who's been there recently, who's posting about it on their social media, like who the store is resharing, who's tagged the coffee shop in there. These are people that are probably on social media and like willing to post. So what I'll do is I kind of have this like I'm going to accidentally run into them on purpose and discover that we both live in the same area and they are going to be way more local to maybe meet up with me at that coffee place, sample my products there. And so I start there, and from their pages, especially those that are public, I'm able to kind of network with people that are maybe a little bit more closer to me on the map. I do believe there's so much power when we get to meet with someone in person, which is actually one of my top 3 tips, but this is just a tangible that I have on like how to find those people. So what's your favorite local coffee shop or local store, and start there. Who's tagging them? Who's there? And getting acquainted with the other business owners too and supporting them is really great.
I got to say that's pretty brilliant. It really is.
I got good nuggets. I'm bringing my
Oh,
heat here, okay?
that's really good, especially to tap into your local community because we all are trying to grow on social media and expand. Yes, I think having a habit that has to do with networking is definitely at the tippy top in having a successful business.
Million trillion percent. Okay, so my other top tip of things that I feel like are essential is you do have to show your face every single day on your social media. And I think a lot of people get in the habit of, it's not their face, but it's their life. and people really want to see you. I mean, obviously we're on Fancy Vance podcast, so we know the power of your face on social media, but that really is like number two. And I can feel a difference. I mean, and I haven't in a long time. I have such a great habit. My consistency is there now. But in the beginning of my business, if I had to pinpoint those gaps in my business, like why is it taking a downward spiral? Oh, because I took 2 weeks off of showing my face on my social media and I was just in the habit of sharing other things. So people need to see you and hear from your face.
And I'll tell you, so my second one is content batching, because I know for some people, showing your face every day, especially those who are working like a 9 to 5 alongside of, a side gig that they're doing or trying to build this business, is hard. So like Christina said, I would encourage you to show your face every day. But if that is a struggle, content batching is what saved me. And this is going to look different for every single person, but for me, especially during football season, when my husband comes home on a Sunday and he watches football and our babies are napping, I take my day of rest is Saturday, but Sunday, because it works out so perfectly, I take 2 hours and I will write out the things that I want to teach that week, the content that I want to produce. And I try to knock out as much as possible. Now, this could just be focused on reels. But a lot of times I intertwine all of it. Like I'll film my reels and then I'll stop and take a picture with my product or take a picture with something that I'm going to use for inspiration or a training down the road. Sometimes I even film my stories. I got to tell y'all, I want to enjoy Thanksgiving with my family. I want to be present with them without neglecting my business too. And the way that I did that is yesterday, I got out some ugly Christmas sweaters. I got out some Christmas boxes because I knew that the company was going to have, specials for Black Friday. And I went ahead and I filmed some stories. I took some pictures. And you may go, well, I don't know what the products are going to be yet or what. Take a picture with a gift box, right? Have your network guess what it's going to be. I mean, there's so many creative outlets, but for me, content batching allows me to be present every day on social media where people are like, wow, she's showing up every day. But in reality, at Thanksgiving, I'm going to be present with my family, but yet still have that content. So I think you can not only create habits around showing up every day, but maybe it's content batching. And maybe you don't have 3 full hours. Sometimes I don't. My babies wake up early, but maybe you have 30 minutes to bust out a couple pictures or 30 minutes to write out a couple captions. Don't underestimate those small pockets of time, because that time management, what you do in those 30 minutes is you can get so much done in 30 minutes, truly.
Love, love. I think too, yeah. I mean, there's like that. There's always stuff that like I'm so sparked. Like I could geek out and talk about this for hours. And I think that a lot of times people overthink the actual like content they might be putting in their stories too. Like I feel like so much of my business that was built was even when I had 5 minutes. Or not even, but I did it like in 30 seconds, two 15-second slides, and I was just kind of recapping with my coffee or running around the house or whatever, and just kind of saying how I was feeling about whatever it was going on, and that can connect with the audience. So it can be so like lackadaisical too. It doesn't have to be like showing up perfect. Like sometimes just showing up real really will help your audience connect with you. And so I have a lot of commuters that will drive, and right before they get into their office, they have it stacked that they kind of give like a little update on their stories about like what their day is in like 15 seconds. And just that habit for them has really helped them connect with more other commuters. So I guess it just depends what your wheelhouse is. But I love the content batching. That is amazing. I think most people should definitely add it to their weekly list. I'm like, I like that. I want to put that on my list.
Yeah, and it's
But
definitely easier said than done, because I mean, for years I woke up every day just winging my business. Like, am I going to go live today? Am I going to follow up? Am I going to do a training for my team? Am I going to post a story? Am I going to post? Like, I felt like I was spinning my wheels, but yet not really fully checking off any boxes.
mm,
Now, for most people, realistically, content batching for 3 hours and knocking out an entire week, it's probably not gonna happen for you. I didn't start off that way. Like, start off just picking whatever day, maybe it's Monday, maybe it's Sunday night for you. And just even if it's just content batching in regards to what you're gonna do that week and you're just writing it out. That is the most simple place to start and where I recommend. Don't even create it all, just write it all out and go, okay, this is what my week looks like. So that when you wake up on Monday or you wake up on Tuesday and you're tired and you don't feel like showing up, you still have it in front of you and go, okay, I just have to check this off. And then you can fully check a box off and you don't feel like you're spinning your wheels. If you can do extra stuff outside of that, great, but at least you got the essentials done. So for me, content batching, showing up every day, that's number two. What would you say your last essential habit is?
It's so hard to narrow it down to three, but essential, what helped me grow my business to what it is, I always had something to invite people to, whether it was a live opportunity call or I was marketing something that was already pre-recorded, or a one-on-one coffee date or a one-on-one Zoom or a three-way with my upline. I mean, I always was, if I looked at my phone and there was no one I was inviting to something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start there. I'm inviting someone to something. And it was really drilled into my head early on that we are to excite and invite and excite and invite. And so that's just like part of the rhythm I have is like, okay, I have a bunch of prospects starting to form in these conversations. What am I going to invite them to? Oh, that's going to make me host an opportunity call now. Even if it's just a live opportunity call, I have something, a reason to follow up with people. A lot of times people are like, do I follow up again with just, hey, have you thought about it anymore? And it's like, invite them to something. That's different than saying, hey, just circling back, like you're offering something. So that's
Yeah.
my number three.
I love that. And I actually recently heard a training where it was like the title was drop the F word, but the F word was follow up. Basically, like, don't go to your audience and say, hey, I'm just following up. I'm just following up, right? Like, that's very
Yeah, that's
transactional.
it.
Right. Did you read that? Did you watch that? But you can contact them and say, hey, I am hosting this if you would like to attend. And that is your follow up, right? But you're actually still extending something to them, keeping the conversation going without going, hey, just following up with you. So I love that. I think that's super important. And it keeps the momentum going in your business because so often we have that one opportunity call that we rely on. And then when that's done, we're just in this
Does
kind of
create a burst, a momentum, right? Like it usually does, like a boost in confidence or something. So I'll even do a live about the fact that I'm going to do a live. And I'll send it to people and I'll say, I thought of you. And instead of even like asking them a question, now I'm sending them a piece of content, getting their eyes, and I might suck them in with something that I'm saying. So there's a lot of different ways. But I love that. That's funny.
yeah. The last one for me would definitely have to just be the habit of goal setting. I mean, this kind of circles back to what we talked about at the beginning. It all points to your why, but I think it's so important for us individually and then as leaders to create habits for ourselves and our teams of goals, a team goal, a personal goal. It could be as small as my goal is to finally go live and press the live button, right? But having goals for yourself each month, that way you have something again to shoot for. Your habits are pointing towards something bigger than just habits because you need habits, right? They're pointing towards an end result. And I love having goals too, because what I like to do is break it down into bite-sized goals, right? Like if you're, like, here's just an example. If you're wanting to sell 3,000 in a month, what is that per week? Well, that's 750 a week. What is that per day? What collection do you have? What are some products that you can sell to equate to that each day? And then it gives you a focal point, and then it also makes it more attainable. This is self-care goals. This is personal development goals. But I think it's so important as entrepreneurs in general to always be revisiting and recreating our goals. That's a huge one for me.
One that didn't make my list that I love talking about and I feel like is so important is habit swapping. So anything that you do in your day, I mean, touching on self development, that's like it's hard for it not to make the top of the list because I feel like that's like our armor for the day. So like that's essential every single day. But not allowing yourself to go down a gossip hole, a Netflix marathon hole. Like, you can really audit your time that you're spending on the day. And as long as I get my tasks out, I will allow myself, like, the Netflix for me is a treat. Like, getting on the phone and chumming with a friend is a treat. Like, these are things that as I've gotten more serious about my business, were habits that weren't in the priority of my day. Whereas maybe when I was just starting out as a hairstylist, like, going out and having wine with the girlfriends every single night or whatever was a priority because I just wanted that connection. So I don't know. I think that that's like another thing that's up there on the list for me. We don't have to dive into it too much, but just really kind of be mindful of what you're saying no to as well, as saying yes to these things, but then also guarding your mind and your bit and you're prioritizing your business to not, I don't know, dilly
Yeah.
dally it away in a week where you can be more productive or do that content batching instead of one night, you know?
No, that makes so much sense. And so I think for some people, what you can do is just like you're going to write out your habits and what you want to implement, maybe write out your current habits, good, bad, everything in between, and then go through each one and say, does this get me closer to my goal? What is priority? There are certain family things that are habits for us that will always be priority, right? Like those aren't coming off my list. But I think to write it down and go, okay, what's priority? And then what can maybe you're only giving something up for a season. So I love that you said that because I think it's important to not only go, okay, what are we going to add? But if you're going to add, you got to take away, or you're just going to be overwhelmed with trying to juggle too much. So I think it's great that you added that. Like I said, we could go on and on and on, which is why I was like, okay, this is great because there's so many habits. There's so many habits that you can implement in your business for success to help you find success. But I do want to talk about this journal because I think it's fabulous. I got one myself, and it's the 90-day cycle to new habits journal. It's a network marketer's guide to create a strong business habits through 60 minutes of daily focus. So in 60 minutes, every single day. And maybe this is what you start your morning off with. And I'm going to link this in the description of the podcast. We'll have the website and you can snag one of these because it is amazing. So, Christina, I would love for you just to tell them a little bit more about this journal.
Okay, I get real animated when I talk about this thing because when I first discovered it, I was like, yeah, yeah, like every page, I'm like, oh, this is exactly like it is a complete guide. Like, if you were like looking for someone to give you a written out task list every single day, that's what this is. So, like, for example, it says, invite to in-person events, have one-on-one meetings, invite to virtual events, and it gives you space to like write it down. Your goals are way more likely, and this is scientific fact, to come true and come to fruition if you are writing them down. So it gives you a weekly business plan, and each day it also, I have the 12-month one right here in front of me. You have the 90-day one. They're very similar, but there's no book that exists like this that's geared towards network marketers. And so honestly, so many people that have implemented these into their business, it's accountability, but it's also like on those days where you're so overwhelmed and you're like, just tell me what to do. You can open the page and it'll say what to do. And as long as you're willing to put that action step in that 20-minute, focus time that it gives you, you really can accomplish so much. And even if you're not doing it every day, whatever cadence you get into with this, like a power hour a week will change your entire business, when you are first starting out. And so it's really great to help track, but I love it. I am a huge on pen and paper, and I know we are, entering into 2024, and I need to get with the virtual. But I mean, I'm an old school hairstylist. I had a paper and pen book. Like, I like phone calls. So I feel like majority of, who we end up working with are women that are very similar to us, that come from our generation where pen and paper was the king, and a lot of us struggle getting into like the techie stuff, which is why I love your page so much. Like, you've taught me so much, Kristen. Like, it's amazing. But this is a great guideline for tracking your habits, tracking your success, and getting to feel like you get to check the box
Yeah.
and accomplish something every day. Because I think it's so easy as moms to like get to the end of the day and you're like, what did I even I did nothing, like you mentioned before. Like I didn't so to check that box and feel like, oh wow, okay. Cause even just in the beginning, it says like a morning routine for you and a business building habit. I mean, it's all mapped out. Like it's all here. So
Yeah.
it's great for your
Yeah.
chaotic partner.
I think that is key to being able to feel like you have checked off boxes at the end of the day, that you're not spinning your wheels and that you can actually see what's being accomplished. And that's why I love this. And it's funny because as techie as I am, and as much as I teach all the technology, I still have my planner that is on paper. I love to see it. I love to write it. There's something about writing it that it just sticks with me a little bit more. And my husband still makes fun of me because he's all about put it in your phone, put it in your phone, put it in your phone. I'm like, you don't understand. I have so much on my phone. I have so many notifications on things that like to put another thing in my phone. And so I still do pen and paper. And so I love this journal because it's kind of that whole pen and paper. It sticks with me. I get to visually see what my day looks like because I think, like you said, there's so many of us that are like, wow, I did a lot, but what did I really do? Right. Like I felt like I did a lot. And sometimes you'll write it down and go, you know what? I really didn't manage my time as well as I thought I did. Right. And so I love this. I encourage everybody to go check it out. Like I said, the description and all of the information will be down below at the bottom of this podcast in the description. But I just want to thank you, Christina, for being on this podcast. This was amazing. I know we could have made this hours long about the habits. We may have to do a part two sometime. But
Let's do
I
it.
really appreciate you being on here. And if you guys want to find Christina, she is on Instagram and her handle is Christina A. Smallwood. And you should definitely go check her page out. She's phenomenal. Thank you, Christina, for being
Oh my gosh, you're the best. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, we definitely need to do a part two and three.
Yes, go on and on and on. Well, if you guys found today's podcast episode helpful and beneficial in any way, we would love for you to subscribe to this podcast, share it, tag Christina, tag Fancy Vance 89 in your share as well. And we'll see you next time.